Hello Gemini and welcome to your January 2021 forecast for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Also, if you'd like to ascend above your zodiac sign and discover what this year will hold for you based on your time, date and place of birth, you can get your year's forecast plus a character analysis and get 30% off by seeing the link beneath this video. This is totally unique to you and it can give you searing insights in what is going to be probably the most pivotal year for many of us for many a moon. So we start this new year as ever with the Sun being in the sign of Capricorn, which for you is about transitions. It's about where you're invested most. It's where you're connected most. It's about psychology. It can be about very deep sexual relationships. It can be about financial relationships, business ties. I think it's likely for most Geminis the last couple of years has given you lots to think about in terms of where you feel that sense of excitement and connection, but also how you balance the books, just in simple terms. But the blessing that you got in December on the 17th, 19th, 21st, in the guise of Saturn, Jupiter moving into your sister air sign of Aquarius, coming together in a conjunction on the winter solstice on the 21st, it's a sense of a new beginning, a widening of your horizons. The solar eclipse of the 14th of December was also magical in terms of your relationships. That's augmented as you come into this new year by Venus, which is forging an amazing link with Mars in your sector of friendship. So don't be surprised if some new friendships and new connections are really powerful for you this year. But you know, an area where you may be perhaps slightly disappointed this month at least around connections with others could be around your work. Not everyone is necessarily going to walk the talk. So as much as someone can be very captivating, and it could be someone of a spiritual nature, I have to say, someone who advertises the virtuousness that you may be drawn to. But just don't underestimate what you know, what you've learned. Your superior knowledge is absolutely vital for you alone. So if there is someone around you, some kind of spirit guide or someone at work promising the earth, just proceed with a bit of caution. But generally speaking, I think Mars and Venus being in a trine is so uplifting. It's just that Neptune squares up Venus. So if you start to put too much of yourself or too much hope or put someone on a pedestal, they could really come up trumps, but they could disappoint you. So just be aware that Neptune can be distorted. Now, of course, Uranus has been heading backwards for some time, and on the 14th of this month, it's going to end that journey, and that's something we can all be happy about. For you, Uranus has been creating, I think, since the middle of May, some tension, some stress, potentially. It came back from the 7th of March 2019, depending on how this impacts on your natal chart. There may have been a sense that something is just putting you a bit on edge, but it's hard to actually identify what it is. Unfortunately, if you try to expand too quickly this month or this year and take on new ways of doing things and being very open-minded, which is brilliant, and of course because you're an air sign, you're very much akin to do that, you just need to be conscious how much physical, emotional and nervous energy you've got to drive any expansion that you might be considering. Because if you do, it's kind of like a thin band of investment of energy. If you kind of really burn the candle too much at both ends, you're going to get immediate reaction. I feel that's what the planets are telling me. You're immediately going to feel, no, that's too much. And you could start to sort of not be able to do what you want to do and may have to really rest up to an extreme. So do balance that, just be aware of that. Now, it is true that on the 7th, Mars is moving into the sign of Taurus. Now, that's where Uranus is, isn't it? And yeah, on the 18th and 19th, they come together. If there's something around you that you know the air needs to be cleared, it could be that someone's withholding from you, not being very honest, not necessarily in a malicious way. Maybe they don't want to talk about something because it's very sensitive. Maybe they don't want to hurt your feelings. Maybe it's you that's not really sharing something that's deeply, deeply poignant and powerful to you. You're going to find it hard not to around the 18th or 19th. I can absolutely guarantee that. Also on the 8th, Mercury, your ruler, moves into Aquarius, your sister air sign, where it's exalted in the second decan, but also Venus moves into Capricorn on the same day. Now that transit can be very good actually, especially for your finances. So some good news can come from the 8th, and Mercury moving into Aquarius means it immediately connects with Saturn. So there could be a travel plan laid at that time, or you may think about higher education. But if you are trying to promote yourself in any kind of digital situation, you can have success in the last third and fourth week of this month. I absolutely really feel you can. But you're going to have to work in a very structured way. And as I said, don't spread yourself too thinly because you're going to feel it straight away. Now, all this month, Uranus is in your 12th house, squaring up with Jupiter. And that's what I mean about if you embrace these new ideas, which is wonderful, just be aware of how much capacity, if you've got kids to think about, if you've got a full or part-time job, if you're running a business but you're trying to change it, there's only so much space in your body, your emotions, your mind, your physical energy. So just be aware of that. But we do have on the 13th a new moon, and if there has been this long saga that's lasted the last couple of years around finance, something could be nailed on this new moon, because if you set your intentions, you're going to do so with a massive intent, because Pluto is conjunct the new moon, which makes it very powerful, and something could change massively. So if you're in a relationship which you're not very happy about, you could decide to break free of it in the following month. Seriously. Also, the 19th, the sun goes back to Aquarius very early this year, usually the 21st, sometimes the 20th, and very seldomly the 19th. This year it's the 19th. This points up some kind of desire to shake things up, be more spontaneous, travel. Well, we all want to do that after last year. But again, you have to be very disciplined. Be mindful if you're involved in contractual discussions about the small print, because of Saturn being there. It's not necessarily going to be a bad thing. You could get some deal offered to you at this time which really thrills you. Your reach can be high. Saturn isn't always negative. It can definitely be a time when we achieve things, so bear that in mind. But it's achieving things about expansion, but expansion that you can manage. On the 28th, we do have a full moon in Leo, your third solar house, going across the axis to the ninth. Third is very characteristic of your sign. Quick wits, funny, banter, text messages, emails, digital stuff. It's the here and now communication, connected with neighbours, siblings, blah, blah. Whereas on the other side of the heavens, we have the sun in the higher philosophical part of your scope, which is pushing you to really check out your values. But the key is, at the start of this year, the moon's in opposition in Leo, the same point, with Saturn and Jupiter. So we kind of get it at the start of this month and on the 28th. I think it's just saying to you, don't utter one single word this month you don't mean. We all get caught up. How are you? Oh, I'm absolutely wonderful. And then think, why did I say that? I've got a rotten migraine. We all do it because we don't want to burden people with our issues. But there also can be more insincere communication. And people will say, well, how are you feeling? And, oh, I'm absolutely fine. We don't want to look at it. And we diss the people who might be available to receiving and sharing affection with us, because we don't want to look at it. So you're really being asked to look at your communications in a more profound way this month. And then on the 30th, your ruler goes into retrograde. Now, last year you had some retrograde in your sign. Once the Cancer retrograde, it inched back into Gemini. But this one, I think, if you are planning anything to do with a new car, a new mode of transport, a college course, you are hoping to go somewhere on a journey, there could be a delay, there could be some kind of catch. But I also think Mercury retrograde is very much about solving things. Again, if you read kind of a lot of women's magazines that come up in search results, oh, the end is nigh, when Mercury is retrograde. And yes, it can be a pain, particularly around ports, blockages, volcanic ash exploding in Iceland that stopped all the planes flying in Europe a few years ago, if you remember. Anything to do with airports, communication systems, satellites. All these things definitely do happen when Mercury is retrograde. So it's very real. But what we can do is think about the area that it's influencing and think, well, how can I actually use this retrograde to correct something that might not be working? So for you, the ninth house could be a contract. It could be making sure that all your paperwork is up to scratch. If you are entering into an agreement, you're not lazy about it like I usually am, and just go, tick, 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 agree to the condition. I don't read any of it, and that's where we get caught out. So be punctilious, be really accurate in the way you communicate. But I feel that people are going to be holding you to account. So if you say something and someone doesn't agree with it, or they don't feel you're being sincere, you're going to feel it coming back to you. But remember, with Venus in your 7th house at the turn of this year, and with the energy of the solar eclipse on the 14th of December pouring into the first 5.5 months of this year, if you want to make it better around relationships, you can, but articulating yourself in a very authentic way, which means sometimes sharing when you feel a bit feeble or a bit vulnerable or a bit niggly, or when you feel a bit upset, you will receive so much back. If you try to keep it purely at a mental level and shut down the emotion, so you have all the air there. So it's almost like you're the swords cards in tarot. Bring in the cups. Bring in the cups. And this can be a really, truly amazing month for you of change, of progression, of really feeling that you're coming into your power. Do stay safe. Take care. Good luck. Check out that offer below if you'd like to. But for now, goodbye.